Hello everybody and welcome to this video on 3.9 for Star Citizen. The new patch is finally in live. We've finally got our hands on it for those that haven't tried it in the PTU. I think a lot of people have been waiting such a long time for this patch. It's bringing some fantastic gameplay mechanics into the game, such as the prison gameplay and a couple of other things like new babbage, the entire landing zone and its mission structure. Also, the mission where you have to board the Drake Caterpillar to find the prisoners that are currently on board, and it's bringing just overall a lot of new great stuff to the game. This video and the footage that you see here are my first couple of hours into the game so far. What's happening now on screen, I'm just going through some of the customization options for your character. You're going to have to do that from the start again, but the good thing is there is no wipe with this patch. Doesn't mean there's not going to be issues, so some individuals may find that actually they're missing stuff from the previous patch, so don't be alarmed if you are. I think that's just a known issue, but majority of the people, you will have everything that you more or less started or ended the last patch with. So currently what has been introduced into the game itself, so like I said, we now have the Klesher automated prison, which is just fantastic. So I'm going to read a little bit of the patch notes and kind of what the new features are, just so you guys can get a little bit of a feel of what's going on. So they've added the Klesher automated prison. It says automated, but there are a couple of guards that are roaming around the place, so it's not automated at this moment in time. But by the by, players who are directly killed by or die within a short distance of security forces or bounty hunters will now go to prison. In prison, all player inventory is inaccessible, and instead, players are given a stock prison suit and a multi-tool with a mining attachment. Spare multi-tools can be found at the commissary kiosk, should theirs be lost. Players can serve their time normally or contribute to society by working in the designated mining areas. A lot of this video is going to be focused around the prison gameplay, purely on the basis that I was going to do the mission about hijacking the Caterpillar prison transport, because it's actually quite a nice payout. It's about 33,000 AUEC plus bonuses, but because I'm so useless at dogfighting and combat, I kind of just looked at the enemy and just fired until they killed me, and then because I'd hit crime stat level 3, I was automatically put in prison after I died. My sentence during this time was just shy of 5 hours. Now that is all completely real time, so I would have had to stay in prison for 5 hours in real time. Now originally CIG had said that they want you to be online during that entire period, so you cannot just go offline and then just work out your sentence. They have not implemented that as of yet. As of right this second, essentially, if you go to prison and you log off, then in real time it will tick down. But you know, a lot of people want to be playing straight away. I mean, I was playing at best 20 to 30 minutes before I was blown up, essentially. You know, that's all well and good, but I wanted to continue playing. So what is the best way to do that? Wait for just under 5 hours, or do I go into the mines, start mining and start working off my sentence? So that 5 hour sentence in total was probably brought down to about an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, I would say. Purely just mining. Of course, it's not the most enjoyable gameplay loop, but at the end of the day, it's a prison. It's not supposed to be the most enjoyable loop in the game. It's a deterrent. I've committed a crime. I've ended up destroying a ship, causing harm to another ship, killing a couple of people, and you know, the crime stat was absolutely worth it, I think, for the crimes that were committed. And you know, I didn't exactly have lots of fun in the prison, and I didn't attempt to escape, which is something that you can do within the prison. You can attempt to escape from prison. I decided to work off my time and then come out of the back of that prison sentence as it should be. I would say it's absolutely a deterrent within this part of the game. I don't want to go back into the prison and have to work all of that time off, especially not by myself. But do you know what? It serves a very, very great purpose. And actually, it's really, really interesting gameplay. Just kind of focusing on the stuff like the commissary kiosk and a couple of the people that are wandering around actually, you know, the thought of working off your sentence itself. Now, a lot of the time I was focusing on just anything, any minables near me. That's not always the best thing to do. The further that you go into the mines, the more likely you are for the kind of like the more expensive ore, which then you can sell at a higher price in terms of merits to be able to reduce your sentence even further. Hadanite being the most expensive piece of ore that you can actually get. It's kind of, from what I was experiencing anyway, it's kind of a rare spawn for Hadanite. I didn't come across a single piece of Hadanite, but I came across quite a lot of locations where I could actually mine that node, but it wasn't Hadanite at all. I didn't come across a single piece of Hadanite. So all you just do is you gather up all of this, or you'll have to always be aware of how much oxygen that you have left. So there's 2 ways to replenish your oxygen. You can either go back into the main Klesher prison area, and that will naturally just regain oxygen, or whilst you're out in the mines, you can occasionally come across some oxygen distribution locations that will transfer oxygen back into the suit so that you can carry on mining. Of course, it's exactly the same gameplay loop as mining outside of prison as well. The bugs are very similar. You'll find that there's a lot of stuff that clips through walls and clips through the floor, and that you can see but you can't store and pick up and stuff like that. But it's, you know, what people need to realize is it's still an alpha. It's still very much in development, and at this point we're testing you know, a fantastic game that has got so much potential, but we're testing it in an alpha state. Okay, so onto some new features. So in terms of characters, the Microtech clothing has been included into the game, which it makes sense. New Babbage has also been released, so you'd expect the kind of Microtech clothing to come out as well. In terms of gameplay, they've added the hijacked Caterpillar prison transport mission, which is the mission that I was trying to do before I was killed and then put in prison. They've added mining laser sub-items, which is also fantastic for people that are mining. They now have the laser sub-items that you can use. So if anybody does have any kind of mining ships or anything, you can now put consumables on those mining ships. They've introduced a volatile mineable ore, which is going to be really interesting gameplay there. It's called Quantanium, and it's widely available and highly unstable in terms of, you know, it's used as production for quantum fuel, and then once it has been mined, you've got to take care of it, and you've got to get it kind of where it needs to go very quickly. If not, then it can degrade over time, meaning its value decreases. But not just that, if it, you know, if there's any impact to the ship itself, it can deteriorate even further, and essentially it can become more unstable and it can explode. So that's going to give a really, really interesting risk loop to the trading aspect. It's going to be, I haven't had a look at the ore itself and kind of what the pricing is and if it's going to be worth it or not, but depending on the right price, it could be very expensive, and overall it could be a fantastic gameplay loop for traders. I think trading in the game being, of course, the kind of meta to earn the most money, having something like this which has more of a risk reward factor could be a fantastic piece of gameplay. But it all depends on pricing, because if the pricing's not there, if it's not worth the risk, there's no point in the reward. So they've also added 2 new service harvestables and added in-hand weapon attachment swapping. So I think one thing that they've added, which is just fantastic, is the kind of inner thought system and how they've changed that a little bit in terms of being able to complete actions and so on. So if you hold the F key, then hit the right mouse button, you'll have a large wheel of kind of actions and regular things you can do. With 3.9, they've also added the survival element into the game. So of course your oxygen was always kind of there, but they've expanded that a little bit more in the survival system. You need to eat, you need to drink. It's not a case of like other games where if you don't drink in 30 minutes you'll be thirsty, although you've drunk loads before. You know, this is not a hindrance gameplay mechanic. It's very much you play for like 6 hours, then your character will most probably need something to eat or need something to drink. So you may go out of your way to eat something, drink something. It's probably going to be a lot less time than that, but you know, you're going to be going to various different locations and different harbors and so on. They all have food courts that you can actually buy food and drink from, so it's not like it's a hindrance mechanic, but it's a mechanic to make sure that you're aware of. I think where the player status system really shines is kind of the temperature piece and your estimated time to survive, or how long your kind of suit expects you to survive for, whether or not that's 4 hours out in the freezing cold with your current suit temperature, or whether that's 9 seconds because you've not got any oxygen, you're being starved of oxygen. I think that is really where this game and the survival mechanics are kind of showing. Like, I think this is really, really great gameplay, and overall it gives just a fantastic aspect to the game that I think the game was definitely crying out for. Along with that is the Asperia Prowler. So the new ship that's in the game, it's a Tavarian ship. It's more or less an armoured personnel carrier. What's interesting about this ship itself is kind of the way that it looks. It's very avian-like, so it genuinely looks like a big bird, and it's not got a lot of airlocks and so on. The way that, at least in lore and with the gameplay mechanics at the moment, it has air barriers, so essentially force fields that you can walk out from, but it keeps the air actually compressed into the cabin, so you can have all the doors open in space and the entire cabin will not depressurize. It's a really interesting mechanic, and I want to see more of that coming from different ships, because if you take the likes of the Carrack, at the moment with the top hangar loader, you can open a door and then suddenly, if the gameplay mechanics were there, the entire cabin is completely depressurized. It needs to have a depressurization kind of system within the Carrack, and one of those force fields just above that kind of barrier will be a really, really good addition to the Carrack itself. But I'm talking about mechanics that are most probably going to be in the game years from now, so don't worry, I'm not going to get all caught up on that. They've also updated ship AI behavior to include greater speed ranges and improved avoidance as well, which is fantastic. So a couple of other things that's really important to quickly note here. So they've doubled the payout of all criminal missions. Risk reward. You want to put in the time to do a criminal mission, you will get that payout if you're successful. If you're not, you're going to prison. Added infraction to immediately impound player ships that collide with ships with the right to be within a landing area. They are putting a stop to pad ramming. Thank God, because that was very, very frustrating. Shifted the threshold to obtain level 4 and 5 crime stats. Lowered the amount your character twitches while impacted by fire in combat. Made murder and inmate murder against party members be automatically forgiven. Essentially, you kill a party member, you're automatically forgiven. For the moment, you continuously got a homicide. Let's say you were a pilot, for example. You accidentally crashed into something, which is actually the next point. Crashing a ship with players aboard will no longer award the pilot with a homicide crime stat. All of that, those two there, kind of, they intertwine with each other. But essentially, it allows you to murder a person in your party if you're trying to test things, or if you're having a bit of fun, anything like that. You will not get a crime stat for that. So that is a fantastic addition to the game. But by the by, guys, thank you so much for watching this update on Star Citizen 3.9. Anybody who has watched a couple of videos, seen some of the podcasts, knows that I'm just such a big fan of Star Citizen. And I'm hoping that whilst they're releasing more and more content and more information comes out about Star Citizen, you know, I can hopefully keep bringing some updates and showing a bit of gameplay. I want to thank the Star Citizens Leaks Discord channel. Essentially, I get all of my stuff from there. They're so informative and so great at giving out information. So I will link the Discord channel in the description below if you are interested to see kind of how the game's developing. But yeah, that's it. I thought I'd give you guys, you know, a couple of minutes of gameplay, some prison gameplay, what the patch notes are, what my initial thoughts are, and and just go from there. So once again, I hope you guys are all keeping safe, but for now I will leave you all to it. So thank you guys very much for watching. Goodbye.